Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Art Whisper 88. Today's episode will focus on the color blue. It is one of my favorite colors. And let me give you a very short history of blue. Now, blue is the oldest synthetic colors. The ancient Egyptians used to crush lapis lazuli and turquoise, which were rare stones, and therefore they were very expensive. They used the crushed pigment for very special occasions, for royalty and very sacred and precious objects. Now, since it was such an expensive color, they were able to develop a synthetic blue called Egyptian blue. It was made by mixing silica, lime, copper, and alkali. And it could be used on stone, wood, plaster, papyrus, and canvas, and many other decorative objects that have survived until today. So it just proves the durability and the lasting beauty of this color blue. So I will be using all different brands of blue today. I have Lucas, I have Nova Color, I have my favorite Blicrylics, and my 18 by 24 Monster Gelli Plate, which is a wonderful gift from jellyarts.com. Please visit their website. They have all sizes for all uses and purposes, from children's projects to more serious artwork. So anyway, without much further ado, I will get started and let's keep rolling. Okay, here we are at the first step. I'm going to lay down the scaffolding or the skeleton of this composition. This is Blicrylic Mars Black, and I think that using a Mars Black skeleton is going to be very effective. So I will put a little amount here in my tray, and this time, instead of using color shaper, I will be using this brush here. This is I'd say a 2-inch brush. And I'm using this Mars Black straight out of the bottle, so it's fairly thick. It's not ink-like I usually do. So I have to think in reverse, that whatever I place on the left side will show up on the right. So I will put some marks here. Just make sure that the edges are clean. Okay, so this is the first layer, and I will allow this to dry. Okay, this first layer has dried. So now let me apply some ultramarine blue. Now that I've done a little historical research on the color blue, I will never take the color blue for granted anymore. Now that I know how difficult it was to produce in the old days. Okay, let me see how this works out. I will start with my color shaper. It's a very different experience spreading color with the color shaper as opposed to the brayer. Now the brayer creates a very flat, monotone kind of effect. It's very different when you use a color shaper. It's almost like working with an artist palette knife. Okay, so what I will do is even this out. Now what the act of evening the color out enables the second layer to pick up the black first layer. So it's really my intention to create these distinct zones of color. Now, had I used the brayer on the outset, the colors would blend too much, and I don't think it's that interesting. Okay. Now I have here, these are really used for ceramics because they're listed as ceramic tools, but I think they're very interesting because they are made of silicone. They're kind of like a miniature color shaper. So I'm going to use these to make marks. This one is very pointy, and this one is a chisel point. So I will try the chisel point first. I think what it does is it exposes more of the layer underneath, and it will register as white. Now this one, is really pointy. I'm going to see what kind of effect. It's a very fine line. And I think the advantage of using this silicone tool is it's very soft, and I don't have to be worried that it might scratch the plate, because, I mean, face it, this plate is expensive, and I don't want to create any unnecessary damage to it. Okay. Again, I will be using my favorite Richardson 22 by 30 watercolor paper. And as usual, I will leave this paper on for about 5 minutes to let the paper's fibers have a chance to absorb the paint. Okay, this is exciting. Let's see how we made out. I think the silicone tool did a very good job. I think the white marks are very striking. They contrast with the different shades of blue and black. Okay. Very cool. I like that. I like the effect of the color shaper spreading the color for the second layer. The areas of light blue and darker blue are distinct enough. They don't mix too much. And that was my intention. Okay, on to the next one. Again, I will be using a black scaffolding with this brush. This time I will do my marks on the left side. Again, I will let this dry first. Okay. This is turquoise deep. Again, here is some Arctic. It has a slight greenish cast to it. Again, this is some ultramarine. And this is phthalo turquoise by Nova. This time I will just use my color shaper. So in many ways, using this kind of tool helps you loosen up. It helps you to lose your inhibition and your fear of making mistakes. And I find that from experience, when you let yourself go and feel more free, the result is more successful. this chisel point is a much wider mark. Okay, let me just tidy up the edges just in case there's too much paint. Now the application of paint is a lot heavier. I think the result is very painterly. Now, I think this effect will not be possible with brayers. Okay, like that. All right, maybe one last try. This time I will add a few drops of water, make it a little more fluid. There is no hard and fast recipe. I just do it by eyeball. Now when the mixture is a little more watery, they tend to create more of this oil resist effect, which I like. Once in a while it's effective. Okay, so I'll do another circle. This is what I mean. It forms like a lacy kind of texture. Okay, so I will allow that to dry, and then when this gets dry I will apply the blue color. Okay, ready for the next layer. Again, I will apply some Arctic. This time I will use the color shaper. Trying not to overblend the colors so they have their distinct areas. I know eventually if I use the brayer they will blend somehow, but not too much. And I will use my pointy silicone tool . Okay, again, I will leave this for about 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, let's see what we have here. It's been about 5 minutes under the fan. Okay, there's not as much black on this one. Well, maybe I was wrong. It's on the right side. Very cool. This is a very clear oil resist effect here on the right side. So we'll air dry this and then I will recap. I hate to waste this very pretty ghost, so I'm going to think of something. I'm going to try this. I haven't used this yet. This is called fluorescent blue. And let's see how this works out. Now, acrylic seems to have a lot of extenders in their formula, and I think it's the presence of extenders that allow the first layers to get picked up. So acrylic is good for picking up ghost prints. I mean, at least that's to my experience. Because the other more heavy body paints are not as effective. And because it has more extenders, you can also create transparent effects. Because the presence of extenders create this semi-transparent paint. Okay. Again, I will be using this stylus, this silicone stylus. Okay. I'm applying a fair amount of pressure on the paper because I do want to pick up everything that's left behind. Okay. Okay, let's see how we did here. Paper is really stuck on the plate, so I have to be very careful. See, there's some tiny tears there. It's a very different effect though. It has the effect of water, like seawater. I'm glad I didn't leave this any longer because I think it would start tearing badly. Okay. I like that. Cool. So I will go ahead and air dry all of these and then do a recap. Okay, I have to admit I miss doing collage. And this last piece here I find too monotonous, and I think it needs some little snap to it. So I have here some of my leftover scraps of tissue paper, and I think they'll make an effective arrangement. So let me start with these circles. Okay, I'm going to start with this piece. And as usual, I'm using my favorite Mod Podge. Now, this has been sitting in the jar for a while, so I had to reactivate it with some water. I think this just gives the piece some definition. Mod Podge is fairly transparent when it dries, so I'm not so worried that if I drip on the piece, it's not going to show that much. And actually, since this is very thin tissue, the color underneath shows through. So it's not too, it doesn't stick out too much. Okay, let's see. I decided not to use the metallic, it's too strong. Now the thing about doing collage, after many years of experience, it's best to do it very quickly, so there's no time to overthink. And I think when you do something spontaneously, it becomes more of a fresh, sincere expression rather than something that is belabored and contrived. So I think this completes the picture, and I will air dry this and recap with all 4 pieces. Okay everybody, here's my favorite part of this video where I get to show you the final result. Now this is the first pull. Here's a close-up. Here's the next one. It's very similar to the first one. Here is print number 3. This has more of an oil resist because I watered down the acrylic Mars Black, and then it creates these lacy textures, which are very interesting. And here is the last piece with the collage. Now, usually I like the last one, but this is a toss-up because I do like the other pieces just as much. So I hope you like this video. This was really lots of fun to do, and it just shows that sometimes when you narrow down your color to 1 or 2, the result is more effective than using all kinds of different colors. It makes your art a little more focused and a little more mature the way it comes across. So anyway, thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Please check out artwhisper88.com, and I hope to see you next time.